Good afternoon, everyone. Just popping in for our usual Friday chat. Thursday for everyone else around the world, but here in Australia and New Zealand, it's Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm just going to pour my coffee. Let me start by doing that. Now, let me see, because that's... everyone. Where am I getting that from? Popping in for our usual Friday chat. Thursday for everyone else around the world. There we go. Turned off. I've always got to remember to mute the audio off the big TV that I've got up there. Otherwise, I'm listening to myself. I'm going to bring up the chat in a minute. I just want this to be a bit of pre-show. So let me just put that on for a minute. Just until a few people pop on. I don't know whether you noticed, but I'm using a different lens today. I'm trying my Tamron 28-75. Thought that I'd give it a go and see how it looks. So let's go over to here and just see who's actually online. Let's see. Now, I wanted to explain a couple of things before we start. Let me just come back to this and I'll explain it again in a minute. About naming of the show. And the reason why I wanted to name this show was due to the fact that this is going to be a total Sony, basically news and rumours show. The way I was naming it before, by putting the stories I was going to discuss on, I'm not sure if people realise that this show is particularly very Sony orientated. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute once I go to the OSMO images sign and we start the show. So let me know what you think about that when I have a discussion in a minute. Now, I've noticed in the audio there, is my audio in sync? Because it looks like it's delayed. So let me know in the chat too whether it's delayed or not. And I'm just going to pop over here just to talk to a few people while we bring this up. So Torben's here. He's just gone to bed, I think, though. But cheers, everyone. Here with my Sony cup, Sony Alpha t-shirt. That should give a bit of an idea about what this show's about, though. Oh, nice. Malty coffee. Love it. Oreo said, hi, David and others. I will also probably miss the chat because I'm very sleepy. I'm curious about the title of episode 1, so I'll discuss that in a second, Oreo, and tell everyone. Casper's saying Sony, Sony, Sony. Rob is saying I'm in the waiting room, looking forward to a great show. Casper says, uh-oh. Galvino said California, 6 p.m. Hero says, finally made it to a live show. Yes. Hero says, anyone here charged for editing and putting together footage for a video? Laugh out loud, I'm so bad for editing. I don't know what that was, saying it's... it's just Casper giving some things up. I'll put that in there. Hero says, about to use that quick GoPro app and let you do it for me. Gerald Williams is in here as well. G'day, Gerald. Barry's here as well. Carl's also here. Carl says, where's the star of the show? Well, I think I'm on now. Jamie says, hello, everyone. And Thomas is saying, greetings, David. Looking forward to another great show. Jamie says, everyone got their coffee ready? I certainly have got my multi coffee ready. Woo-hoo! It's a bit like Guinness, actually. It's not actually Guinness, but it's a dark ale. I mean, it's a Coke. Oh, I love it. Chris is saying, hello, a good day for Corona. Certainly is. Kelly says, g'day. I need more stuff from who's it? Nom. And Thomas says, David, like Oreo, I'm just curious about episode 1. I'm going to explain that in a second, guys, because there's reasoning behind me doing it, and I'll explain why in just a second. Altric says, g'day. Callum is also saying, any news? No news yet about the Sony A9. I'm hanging out like you guys. We might discuss that a little bit later, though. Greetings from crumbling roads on Michigan. Why are they crumbling, John? Rui says, hello, everyone. Dino says, oh, wow, I'm off work today and just noticed you're going live. I'm just down the Western Highway, so not far from me. My Insta is Dinos Photos in the World. Thanks for replying, unlike others on YouTube. I always do try and reply. Some nice bird shots, Dino. Danny says, what's up, Dave? Conrad says, hi, David. Anthony says, what's the best way to stream with the a6300? Well, I'm just using these Ultra Studio Mini recorders, but you can also use some USB sticks as well. I think I put one away. I'll just grab it and show you. You can also use this, see if it'll focus. You can also use Camlink. This is the HD one, so it's the 1080p one, but you can use a 4K one, a new one that's just been brought out. But I'm using a Firewire streaming at the moment. I'm using Blackmagic to attach to it. All you do is connect it, then it'll go into your computer. Nathan said, love that lens. Yeah, I'm trying the 28 to 35 mil the 28 to 75 mil. Today. Just thought I'd give it a go and see if it looks any different. JB says, hi Dave, and Mike says, coffee time with David. Certainly is. Trev says, nobody here but us regular nut jobs. Please give me a thumbs up too, guys, if you can. Remember, I'm totally not sponsored by anyone, and it just helps me with this channel. It gets me out there, so please do that. Audio and sync, no problem. Oh, that's good. Audio is fine. Audio good. Sniper V says, I have a Canon RF lens MV, and I don't blame you. Those lenses are amazing, Sniper. Really are good, but the Sony lenses are good as well. I was asking about audio, whether it's in sync, and it looks like it's okay. I had that coffee on tap every day in Dublin. Mike's just saying in sync. Everyone else is just saying hello from Toronto, Canada. Yay, coffee time. G'day from Windsor, Ontario. All right, let me take this pre-show off, and then we'll put the OSLED images sign up, and then we'll start the show, and I'll explain about my naming of this, guys, because there's a reason behind it. So stay tuned. Let me just get rid of that, and then let me bring this up. G'day everyone, welcome to our usual show, Friday show for here in Australia and New Zealand. Elsewhere in the world it's probably Thursday. A few people have been asking me in the chat why I've changed the naming of the show, because previously, look, what happened was I'd put the name of all the stories in the heading, and that's fine, and I'll probably stick those in the description below once I've finished this episode. But the thing that I thought was, some people are coming in thinking that it's not a Sony show, and the show that we're dealing with today is very Sony orientated. Hence, I'm wearing the Type A personality. I'm also drinking my coffee out of a Sony mug. So that should give people, cheers, that should give people an idea about what the show's about. So what I wanted to do was just start naming the show Sony Rumours and News. And look, I know I've had a number of these episodes already up, but it was a bit confusing, and I couldn't be bothered going back counting the number of episodes because I have done a lot of these. So I thought what I'd do is I'd start from episode 1 today, just so that then we have a continuing thing going on. Now, because it's called that, then there's no way someone can come in and say, oh, you're just a Sony fanboy. Well, if that's the case, you shouldn't be watching this episode, because it's clearly stated in the heading that this is Sony Rumours and News. So I wanted the show to be more tailored that way. If people are after... Now, we'll also discuss some non-Sony related things, but most of this is going to be about Sony news. Let me just close my mail so that we don't get that coming in. So I wanted this to be more about Sony news. If you want something generic, that's what the show is that I do with Aaron on Tuesday, US and Europe time, Wednesday here in Australia. That's where we host it together. And that's the thing that covers everything generic, which is all camera systems, video, stills, and everything else. But today is going to be definitely more Sony orientated. So I suppose the thing I'm saying is, if you don't like that, you may not want to tune in. But if you are interested in some things that I discuss, feel free to stay in. And, you know, you basically know what you're getting. And like I said, it should be a bit of a hint by what I'm wearing. I'm using the Tamron 28 to 75 today for the first time. I thought that I'd show that just for something different. And I'm using the A7R2. Hopefully it stays in focus and not wandering around. Everyone, hi, Ken Wheeler is coming. So that's why I thought I'd start naming the show episode 1 from today. I mean, I could have counted back and then called it episode 30 or 40, whatever it was, but I thought we'd start this from today, and it'll be just that general thing each week, which is Sony news and rumours, and then it will be the stories underneath in the description, probably put in once I finish. So it will be a little bit of a surprise what's going to be in there, but I wanted it clear that this was a Sony show. So yeah, there we go. So what do you think about that? Just let me know what you think about that. Do you think it's a good idea? Or do you think I'm silly not putting the headings in? I hope it doesn't affect the search. But I don't know, sometimes the heading was so long, like I've filled 100 characters. I'm not sure that it was probably working that well anyway. So we'll see, I suppose, from the number of views that I get in the coming days, whether it affects it or not. But I thought it's just a bit clearer about what I'm going to be talking about. And, you know, some people say, oh, all you do is you talk about the news and rumours from websites. Well, that's what this show's about. It's to go through rumours. It's to open up Sony Alpha rumours and discuss it like a group of friends, sitting around a table, having a drink, and just to go through the news. I love that. I'm a bit of a gearhead, geekhead. So I love to talk about it with you guys, and I always open it up to discussion. So I thought it's a great way of making sure that people understand what the show's about before they actually come in. So thank you everyone for following me. Like, we've got 121 on already. Like I just said, please, if you can, give me a thumbs up, because that does support me, because I am not sponsored by anyone. And that helps my channel as well. So yeah, there you go. Just to let you know what I'm going to be doing in the coming days. On Sunday, I've got a massive model shoot that I'm doing down the beach, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to be filming that on the day. Kiara's also going down, so I'll be doing some filming with Kiara as well as a stack of other models that are doing their portfolios and things. They're paid shoots, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be really interesting. Can't wait to share that. And I might even try and do some shooting with the a6400, because some people have been asking me to review the a6400 with the Tamron that I'm using now. So I might try and do a bit of video and stills with that on the day to see how it performs with, say, the Tamron. And that should be hopefully interesting to a lot of people out there as well. I have got in the coming days a couple of things coming up. I just received this today. It's a Soonwell. Now, I'm not going to unbox it, but the interesting thing about this light that's been sent to me, now, Soonwell have sent it to me. I think obviously I'm just keeping it, but they've contacted me to say, would I be interested in reviewing it? And I thought, yes, I'll only ever review something that I think I'm going to be interested in. And this looks really interesting, because the light panel in itself, I don't want to unbox it because I'm going to film it when I unbox it, but the light panel itself is completely flexible. And therefore you can get it into really interesting places and things like that. And it comes with a little soft box too that you can put on with a grid, things like that. So I'm really excited to try it out and let you know. I think it's going to be pretty interesting from what I've seen. So I'm dying to try that. And I thought too I could probably use it in my weddings and things like that when I want to, say if I had a cupboard or something like that, and I could stick it in the cupboard and then light the bride through there, and it'll look like it's being lit naturally, and it might give me some really interesting things. So stay tuned for that. Also, I've been sent a SmallRig, something, not SmallRig, but a little device that you stick under the a6400 for sticking the microphone on. So that's coming. It hasn't yet. And I'm meant to be getting some SmallRig stuff today that I've paid for that I'll talk about in the show today. Chris Amuna said, you need to change your name to that one Sony guy. I love it. Oh, I'm not even drinking that one. That's old. Let me just see what's in the chat quickly before we start the story. Now, most people are just saying hi in the chat, so I'm going to just put in first story in a second. My Bud Light is not on par here. Going to have to come to your empty fridge. I can't show you what it's in that one. That's water anyway. I've got the bottle inside actually. It's a Geelong beer actually. It's I'm not meant to say what it is. It's actually something from Geelong, which is a town near me, and it's a dark ale, which is really lovely. I love it. All right, guys, let's go. So I'm going to start the story. Let me put into here first story. And what we're going to discuss first is this, because let me just make sure that I can move this in the correct position. So I want to talk about this. Samyang have released or announced it's an SR5 lens that's come up. Now, it's interesting because they're saying down here that it's another 85 1.4 lens, and I'd love to know whether you think we need another 85 lens, because also I noticed Miki, I always can't pronounce that word, but I think it's Meek or something like that, have also got an 85, but that lens is manual focus. This is an automatic autofocus lens, but it looks like it might be reasonably good if you look at the way the Canon has been reviewed, which is probably related to this lens. Now, it's only an SR5 at the moment, but they're saying it's the first leaked image, so obviously it's going to be coming out. I mean, you can clearly there that they're saying it's an 85 1.4 FE lens. But if you look at the reviews from the Canon lens, it seems to be that it's quite a nice lens, but it's quite short, and I'm not sure whether this is how short the lens is or whether this is the photos that's actually making it look like this, but it certainly does look like it's a short lens. And like I said, sometimes though the images can lie a little bit. It goes from, this is an 85 1.4, was the other one 85 1.4? Yeah, it was. So it's 85 1.4. So we haven't got many 85 1.4 lenses, that's for sure. So is anyone interested in this lens, or do you think you would just go for obviously the G Master, but there's going to be a massive difference in price, because if you're thinking about this, they were saying that this lens was basically $600 US. This may be a really interesting lens to get if you don't want to buy a G Master lens. The weight on this lens, does it tell me about weight on this? It's saying that it's 845 grams. It weighs 72 millimeters long without the lens hood or rear cap. It's constructed of 9 optical elements in 7 groups. Now I noticed too, so it's 1.4 and I think it goes to f16. It doesn't go to f22, but it goes to f16. Interesting. I mean, I think it may be something one day down the track that I even think about getting. I'm still deciding whether to get the 135. I haven't decided yet whether fully to get that or not. I'm just trying to see if that scrolls over. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it looks quite interesting. I think it may be something that I'd like to actually test and have a look at. What do you think about this? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think we need another 85? I mean, I'd be curious to know as well whether you think we need another 85. I think probably, I thought this was initially a 1.8, but it's a 1.4. So there definitely may be a need for this lens, particularly at the price that they're saying it is there, because we do have an awful lot of 1.8 lenses out there that you can adapt and everything else, but there's not many 1.4 85s around that price range that probably are fairly good. I've got a feeling Samyang lately have been producing really quite good lenses. They have really stepped up what they're giving us. So this may be a really interesting lens that's been announced, or is going to be announced very, very soon. And I suppose for some people, particularly that don't want to spend too much on the GM lenses, this may be a great option, particularly at that price. You know, if you're looking at 600 US for this lens, that's way cheaper than what you'd be paying for the GM version, which is, I know Australian, it's around about $2,200 or something like that. It's a very, very expensive lens. So this is going to be under $1,000 Australian. It's probably going to be about 800, 900 Australian, which is a great price. And then I suppose if you could get a good 35, you're then set. You know, if you can say get the 35 and the 85, you've got a really good group of lenses. And if you throw, I suppose, the Tamron in there as well, the 28 to 75 at a cheap price as well, also you've got a great set of lenses as well. I want to open it up to the chat because I'm curious to see if people are really interested in this in this lens. So let me go back to here. White Rabbit. That's the one, Tim. It's the White Rabbit. I love it. Dino said, I actually, anything in that Sony mugger, you're faking it. No, there is. The white, I shouldn't say, because I'll get demonetized. That's why I've always got this hanging around as well, because if someone ever says anything, I bring up the coat. That's been there for about 2 weeks. I nearly drank it before. It'd be horrible. You get demonetized, and so I don't show it, but yeah, it's like a stout. It's quite a dark beer. What else have we got? Triple M said, a6300 is my only camera too. Nothing wrong with that. Aaron says, what focal length and aperture is your Tamron at right now? It's at 28 on the focal length. And I think it's on, I don't know, I'd have to look. I can't tell from this. I think it was on around f4, Aaron. I think that's what it was. Charles says, I have that Samyang manual 85 1.4. It is awesome. I would put it on par with anything from on par or better with anything from Canon. Interesting. Yeah, and that's the thing. It may be a really interesting lens for Sony, and it's like I've said to you before that we really are blessed now in the Sony area. We have so many lenses coming on board now, and obviously all these lens manufacturers are realizing that the Sony mount is very, very good. They're selling like crazy, or selling very well. I shouldn't say like crazy, but they are selling very, very well. And therefore, all the lens manufacturers are trying to get on board with that mount, and that's fantastic. Obviously, the Samyang is being designed for the Sony right from the ground up, so it's probably going to be a great lens. It'll be interesting to look at it. This will be really interesting to see how it compares to the GM version. Altric said, too many 85s. I think most of these companies should start doing more zooms. I agree too, Altric. I wish they'd bring out a 70-200. I wish Tamron would. I mean. Flying High, maybe I should test the 85 just because I'm in Korea. Exactly. Dave said, I would love the 85 1.4, but the Sony 85 1.8 serves me nice. If I didn't have the 85 1.8, I would consider it. And the interesting thing here too is that we have to see how this focus is, because I've tried both. I've tried the 85 1.4, and I because when I was in the shop, they never had the batter. So I tried it against the 85 1.8. The 85 1.8 was clearly faster in the focusing department, and I would think that's probably due to the amount of glass that's having to be moved around. That's maybe also why, due to size and weight, that Sony didn't make the 85 a 1.4, the 135 a 1.4. So it'll be interesting to see how this focus is compared to what the Sony does. The other interesting thing too with this lens will be interesting to see how it focuses in video, because Samyang have been a little bit worse in the focusing department on video. Now, I know they've stepped it up with firmware upgrades lately, and they seem to be much, much better. Some of their lenses now, they're much quieter, and they seem to be a lot smoother, but I'm still not convinced that they're as good as what the Sony native lenses are. So this 85 1.4 will be an interesting lens to see how it focuses in stills, and also how it focuses for video as well. So I'm interested to see that. Where were we? Carl says, I'm interested in a 1.4 at a great price pending testing. Yeah, that's the thing, you've got to wait. Gerald said that Samyang could be great if it has a quiet focusing for video. At Samyang prices, it would be a real hit. Yeah, it would be, and that's the thing we've got to wait and see. Like I said, we still have to wait and see how good this thing focuses and how good it is in stills and in video and things like that. Bassam said, I love my 85 Love my 85 GM. You mean the 1.4 GM? I think you're saying there, yeah. Anthony says, I've got the Meek 35. Is it Meeky? I can never pronounce it. Meeky 35 and the 50mm, and I'm thinking of investing in the 85 because I'm on a budget and would love to get a 135 G Master, but too expensive. Hopefully Meeky can design one. And I did look at that earlier today, actually. The only thing with that lens is it's a manual focus lens, whereas this one you're getting it in autofocus. They still haven't mentioned pricing for that manual focusing one either, so I don't know how much it will actually be. So we'll have to wait and see. Chris is saying they'd like a wide angle lens from them. Altric has said this Samyang is with AF. Yes, it is. No, I think it's AF. Yeah, I'm sure I read somewhere it was AF because I know the Canon one is. I could be wrong. Someone may be able to tell me, but I think it's AF. Stuart said looks good. Plus save some money to buy KFC for that treat. I love it. AL3 says, personally, I think we need a long telephoto lens that's affordable, like a 200 to 600. I know, the thing is, they just keep talking about... I've got to move that out of the way. I'm going to spill that bloody thing. Yeah, it's... the thing I'm hoping for is a 70 to 200. But like I said to you, I am considering getting the 135. I may look at it first because I said the other day in Aaron's show that I'm not 100% sure that it'll be a focal length for me, and I'd like to try it first to see that. I love the 35 and the 85. I love that because I'm not too far away from the talent, and because I love to instruct them and talk with them and things like that. But the 135 may push me back considerably further back. But I do use a 70 to 200 at 200 mil, so it may be not a problem at all. But I'd like to try it first. But the results I've seen from it look outstanding, so that may be my first G Master. V for Valley said that 85 is great for that price. Yep. Can someone let me know if it is autofocus? Because I'm just curious. Yeah. Carl said it is autofocus. I thought I read that somewhere. Gene says if it's at least as sharp as the Sony 85 1.8, I might be interested. The Samyang lenses produces slightly warmer images. And that's the thing too, that Sony 85 1.8 is an incredible lens for the price. It really is an amazing lens. But you know what? We don't know how good this lens is yet. It may be brilliant. We have to wait and see. If it's as good as the Canon version, it will be pretty good. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Did you guys see the Leica Q2? Yes, I did. I might probably talk about that in Aaron's show next week, actually, Stuart. G'day Panda. Hey guys, I'm sorry for not being in the live stream, but tomorrow I will have live stream at noon. Good to see you back. I wondered where you were today. Cheryl said the Leica Q2 looks lovely. Oops, excuse me. Tim said, does anyone think Sony would ever make manual lenses? Well, they may, because I'm going to discuss that shortly, talking about some very fast lenses that is going to be produced. Carl says, yep, the 85 is autofocus. The part-time photographer says, not unless they thought there would be some crossover into cinema stuff. Seems like a niche otherwise. You're talking about manual focus lenses, aren't you there, part-time photographer? I mean, they've been concentrating mostly on the autofocus lenses, but if they produce some ridiculously fast lens, it may be manual because of the size of the lens. Chris says, really happy with the Sony 85 1.8. Yep, I don't blame you. Chris said, I had the 12mm f2 Samyang for my crop camera, and it was sharp. It was a sharp little lens. The part-time photographer also said, I love that 85 1.8 as well. Gerald has said there, you are fickle with your heart. I thought the 24 GM was going to be your first GM lens. I know, Gerald, I may get both. Look, I might get both sometime this year, but I'm waiting for the 135. Look, the main thing that... Let me explain. Because I did say to Gerald that I would make the 24 as my first GM lens. That really interests me, particularly for sticking on a gimbal and things like that. And it does really interest me, that GM 24. But at the heart of all of my shooting, I am a portrait photographer. And the 135, I still think, is probably the ultimate in portrait lenses. So that's the reason why, if that hadn't come out, I probably would have bought the 25mm as soon as I could have got it in the shop. I mean, I haven't seen it anywhere yet in the shop, but When they announced the 135, it sort of made me think, oh, so that may be my first. But stay tuned. I'll make a decision soon. And if I can get one. Gerald says, I've read that one. Panda said, David, buy me that lens and I will help you rob Sony. Steve said, David, put the 85 on the a6400 and try it out. Yeah, I should try the Batis on that, shouldn't I? That'd be interesting. And that would give me a similar focal length. I see what you're saying, Stuart, because if I put the 85 on, it gives me a 135 look. I may try that on the weekend. Yep, good idea. Dino said, this live stream is in good focus, but maybe slightly softer than other videos. We only want really sharp lenses with the model on the other end. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I don't know. It may be that it's the A7R2 causing this, or I'm not certain that it's not YouTube compression as well. That's the problem with it, and I'm not sure because at the moment it's saying my stream is lower than anticipated. So I think it may be more to do with the stream. I did a test on this before I came online and using the same setup, and I saved it to file and actually looked at the video and it looked sharp as. So I've got a feeling it may be compression or something that's causing that. So no worries, Dino. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. Anthony said, I would also love to see a 35 to 300 mil for astrophotography, 3000 millimeter. But like myself with a 1.8, so it can be awesome for low light situation. Panda says, I like that 85 too, but I don't have one. Altrix said, I need Sony to drop that 135 1.8. I know so many people are asking for that 35 1.8 lens, and they just don't seem to release one. It would sell like crazy. If you could say get the 35 1.8, and then you could also have an 85 1.8, both, you know, fairly reasonably priced lenses. They're not G-Master lenses, but reasonably priced lenses. They would sell so well, and I know an awful lot of people are really interested in getting that. Panda said, this summer is lenses robbery month in July. Stuart said, David, did your wife find out about you buying the new Sony camera? Yes, Stuart, just rolled her eyes. Tim said, a minute you are going to buy them all. Oh, Chris said, I'm eager to see the 135 versus 100 STF or the 90mm macro. Well, I think for me, I've used 100 in the shop and I used it for quite a while in there. I'm not 100%, I don't 100% like that lens. I don't like the bokeh it gives. I think it looks fake. And that's the thing with that lens. It looks too perfect. Often, I mean, some of you may disagree, but often when I look at the 100 STF lens, it looks like something's been superimposed over it. And I'm not that happy with that look. I think Sony, it would be better if they did 100 1.4. Lens will be much nicer than the STF lens, and there's rumours that they may bring out a 100mm lens. The STF is a very unique look. Now, you may love that or you might not. The other thing too, you've got to remember that really it's about a 5.6 lens, so if you're dealing with low light situations, you've really got to bump up your ISO to use that lens. I would prefer a 135 than the 100 STF, just for the bokeh alone. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the look of that. I think it just looks too fake and it looks Photoshopped to me. Casper says he will never buy a G-Master on me. Casper, I might shock you. Hope to see the 135 drive the other prices down as well, hopefully. Carl said it's the bandwidth problem, David. Yeah, and I don't, like I said, I don't think I can do anything about it. It's saying it's not got a very high stream. Now, I've got very fast internet here. I test every day before I come online, and I've got nearly 100 megabits download, and I've got 30 megabits per second upload. So there's no reason why it's been held back, but I know a lot of people are having issues with YouTube at the moment. I think they're changing servers from Google or something. I know Panda was having heaps of problems with live streams as well, just not getting the bandwidth you should. So there's no reason why I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm wired in direct, so there's no reason why the Wi-Fi would be causing this. It's just YouTube, unfortunately. Hero said, I just got the Sigma 105 for portraits. Can't wait to get it tomorrow. That's a great lens, Hero. Oh, here it destroys the background. It certainly will. Gerald says, you look very sharp to me here. Beautiful bald head. I love it. Gerald also says, I want that 35 1.8 so bad. Yeah, so many people do. Tim said, once he buys GM, he will get more. You never know. The two that interest me are the 135 GM, and the other one that interests me a lot is the 24. Like I said, the 24 does interest me due to the fact of the weight of that lens, and it really would be beautiful to stick on a gimbal. So I am seriously thinking about that one sometime this year, but the 135 at the moment has got most of my interest. G'day, Fatamir. Good to see you in here. Anthony says, I say the 35 to 3000 lens due to the fact Nikon has their P900. Oh, okay, yep. Yep, you're not going to get that in a digital SLR, though. Casper said, Sony show, not Nikon. Casper's just having a go at Photomiac. Oh, that's funny. Poor Photomiac. Richard said, do you think Sony will ever make a 200 GM f2? Oh, who knows? I mean, they may. I'm going to talk about some other lenses that are rumoured to be coming out, or Sony are rumouring to talk about as the next story. So let's move on anyway. G'day, DeBrown, how are you? That's a nice red shirt. It is a nice red shirt, isn't it? Let me just go wide on this. Let me just see how wide I can go with the Tamron, because I think that's... oh, no, that is 28. So then I can come up to the 75. Look at this. Hang on. Hang on. Let's see if this focuses. It's pretty good. You know what else I love about this, though, is, let me just go back to 28. It's the close focus of this thing is nuts. You watch this. Let me... Like seriously, I think I am honestly almost touching the lens. This is how close you can focus. Let me see, where's the point where it won't focus anymore? This is why I love this lens so much, because basically, where's Ken? Basically, I've got to hide my face because I've got face detection on. Let me see if I can get this in focus. It's almost like a macro lens, and this is what I love so much about the Tamron. It's changed... Don't do it. It's changed the way that I shoot. The Tamron lens is just incredible, and often I'll use it as a makeshift macro, and I'm using it now in weddings all the time. I used to grab my macro out, which is a 30mm 3.5, but I don't often need to now because I just use the Tamron, and I can grab the bride's details with that. I can grab the flowers, and sometimes I even photograph the rings because it's close enough to actually get the rings as well. And it's just incredible as a makeshift macro. So that's why I love it so much, because you've got that 28 to 75mm focal length, and you've also got this amazing macro, almost macro, that you can use too. All right, so everyone's saying don't do it. It's Dr. Evil. I love it. They're saying down here that laugh out loud, Dr. Evil framing. Too close, don't do it. I love it. Rob said that Tamron 28 to 75 is a fantastic combo. Photomix said, there is a guy at my gym that looks like you, David. Every time I see him, I want to go up and make a funny video about seeing David Oser at the gym. You should. Barry Street says, 7 Artesians have 35 1.2 E-mount for a few $100s. Yeah, and they're really interesting lenses, Artesian lenses as well. Original lens was sharp on my side. I think it may be the viewers for bandwidth. It's definitely a bandwidth problem if it doesn't look sharp. All right, so let's go to this next story anyway, because I want to show you this. Godox. It's about time this came out, that this has been taking so long to actually come about. The new round head from Godox. So, they basically, I think they're saying now it's going to be released soon. It's going to be called the Godox V1. And they're saying it's an affordable rival to the Profoto A1. I've been waiting for 2 years for them to release the Profoto A1. Just to explain what it is, that's almost a direct copy of what the Profoto A1 is that I used. Now, some people say there's no advantage to the round head, but I found it was a little bit different in the way the light fall came off, because when you have the square type attachment, and if you sort of shoot that at a wall, you will see that it does form lines at the top and the bottom where the light is falling off, and that actually does happen. When it's a rounder head, it is a fraction smoother for portraits in particular. So I really like the look of when I use that Profoto A1, and I use the Canon version. Profoto sent me one when they were first released, and I did a review of that a couple of years ago actually, and I loved it. And they said there was going to be a Sony version of that coming out, but we still haven't seen it. I don't know what's going on with Profoto, crazy. I may even consider getting a couple of these because I did like that light so much, and the adapters that I'll show you in a minute are exactly the same. So it's a direct rip-off of Profoto. I mean, I'm not that rapt about them doing that because it's copying, but what are you going to do? But it's interesting. The only difference is that this doesn't have continuous light, I don't think, the same way the Profoto did, because in the Profoto unit, this was also a continuous light as well, which was quite nice to use. But apart from that, it looks like it's going to be more or less a direct copy. So it's called the Godox V1. My suggestion is, I suppose, if when it's announced, I'd pre-order it if you do want to get one fairly early, because these may be very, very popular due to the accessories that you can get with it. But what they're saying down here is it will obviously go up to 1/8,000th of a second, so you'd expect that. It's going to use TTL and everything else that's there. But it says here, the flash features a smooth and pleasing light quality, and I did find that. I did find it was definitely a very nice quality with a round head compared to the square head. It did make a difference, particularly when you put the dome on it and things like that, and I'll show you those that comes in this kit a little bit later on. And these are the attachments, and this is why I may seriously thinking about getting one, because it's the same as what Profoto also had to offer. You can get the barn doors, snoots. This was a really nice attachment too, because you can sit that on the top. You can sit the dome actually directly in as well. And this gives you a little bit of fill from the front. So it's really interesting to use. So it gives you a bit of a catch light. The problem is if you just bounce the flash up onto the ceiling, you don't get a real catch light in the eye. And I really love that. You can, some of the flashes have a little fold up card that you can use. I'll grab one just so I can show you. I'll be 2 seconds. So this is the Sony, and I love this flash. This has a couple of features that I absolutely adore. Just so I show you why I love this so much is that, let me just put it in. One of the things I love is if you're going portrait, you obviously shoot that way. Now, what I was talking before about the little reflector is that. Now, that gives you a little bit of a light in your eyes, so it'll at least gives them a catch light in their eye that you can actually look at. So, you know, that works quite well. The dome reflector that I was talking about a couple of minutes ago, I'll go back to that in a minute, works much better because it's bigger. But this at least gives you a little bit of a catch light. But what I do love about the Sony flashes, and this is something I haven't seen anywhere else, is that if you go like that, it immediately becomes a problem with any other flash apart from these because they rotate. And that is one of the best features that apparently Sony have patented this as well. The other thing that I love about this too is that it does have a light here as well. So if you're struggling with focus, I just haven't got batteries in this at the moment, but you can turn this light on, and it even has a diffuser there as well. You can turn this on to get focus, and obviously, and then you just use your flash. So it's like you're carrying a flashlight around to get critical focus if you're dealing with a very, very dark position. Or you can use this to even light the subject up. It's actually quite strong. And you get a little colored diffuser as well if you want to stick that on to match incandescent light. So these are really, really nice, but the issue is, like I said, it still has that square attachment, which is never as flattering as when you're using these round type of flashes. But they're a great flash, but they're not cheap. Not cheap at all. So if you look at this Godox light here, that's the same thing. So you're basically sitting that just on top. Now these are magnetic, and that's what I love about the way the whole system works. So they just flip on with magnets, and it's great. You know, you've got, like I said, you've got barn doors here. You've got a snooch. You've got that lovely reflector that you can point back. You've got a grid if you want to control the light spill, and I use grids all the time. You've also got, just let me check, is there saying... Oh yeah, I'm just coming back, just making sure it was on screen. You've obviously got coloured gels if you want to use them. The dome diffuser is really good if you want really soft light to come out. I'm not sure what that one is. And then you've got these great gels that you just sit into the actual unit. You can see there's a green one, and you can then just replace the gel in there as well. So if you're trying to balance to incandescent light, you just put the gels actually in. Really, really nice. Oh, it does look like it's... Oh, yeah, I think the light itself, that may be at the front here, perhaps, is the LED light. I'm not sure whether it comes through here or whether it comes there. I don't know. But it looks really good. I mean, it does look like a really nice light. It's saying that it uses a lithium-ion battery, provides for longer life and a snappy recycle time. It can shoot 650 full power flashes per charge, and has a full recycle time of less than 1.5 seconds. On the back of the V1 is a digital matrix LCD, and obviously the video there, you can look at it, and I'll put this down below as well. But yeah, I may seriously think about getting these. When these are released, it might be my first Godox light that I actually purchase, because it certainly interests me. Let me know in the chat whether any of you would like to do this, because I'm going to go to the chat now to discuss this, because I think it's a great system, guys. I really do. I mean, look, it's a direct copy of what Profoto have released. I don't know how they get away with it, but it doesn't look like Profoto's ever bringing out a Sony version, so I think I might just get one of these to replace or to add on to my Sony flashes. So let me open up the chat. I'm just laughing at when I did that close-up before. Tim said, you need to be stroking a white cat on your lap. I love it, to help you with sponsors. I saw that at WPPI. Is that flash you're talking about? Yeah, it looks really good, doesn't it? So you're going to get one too. I don't blame you, Photomech. It's a great system. Like I said, I've used the Profoto one, and it's amazing. Admittedly, the Profoto system, if you look on the back of the flash, is way better than what Godox have got on this, because this looked more like a normal flash on the back. The Profoto one is beautiful, but like I said, it doesn't look like they're ever bringing one out. So, what else? Part-time photographer says, Robert Hall did a great video on how the light spreads. Oh, interesting. Carl said, what's the APS-C flagship camera story? When will it be available? Where was that put on, Carl? I'm not sure where that was even mentioned. Steve said, once you experience GM lenses, David, you won't go back. Have you forgotten the 100 to 400? No, I did like using that lens, Steve. Triple says, is the V1 bright enough for outdoor competing with the sun? Well, it's not saying what the rating is, but it's probably rated the same as what these are. I mean, they're all rated about the same. To overpower sun, I use 3 of these, and I stick them on an actual mount, and so I'll put multiple ones. I have 2 on the side that face up like that, and there's 1 underneath. Kerry usually holds that on a stand. It has a stand at the top. I'll see if I can find it, because I'll show you exactly what I use. Just stay chatting. So I use this, and this is a great little device. I'm trying to remember where I got it from. It was that Asian photographer that Jason Vong sometimes shoot with. He's been on Creative Live. He lives in America. I can't remember his name. He shoots Sony as well, though. I think he made this. I think that's where I got it from. But basically, what you do is you have your receiver on the bottom of these, and the receiver has a screw-in mount, and they just screw in. So what I do is I have two on here, like that, and then I also, you'll notice there's one underneath here as well. So the second one, or even four if you have four, you can put underneath. And then I find if I'm doing that, it gives me enough power to overpower the sun. Now, admittedly, you have to stand close and you can't put a reflector on these or there won't be enough power. But I've found using high-speed sync with these on full power, having three of them, will overpower the sun. And that's what I used to do before I had like my Profoto units, or if you were using AD200s or something like that. I mean, you could in theory use AD200s on here as well. You could have a couple screwed in with that as well if you wanted to do that too. It would be the same type of system. I've also got another bracket which is from the Nikon guy. I always forget his name. Let me just see if I can find it, because I'd love to show you that too, because it's interesting to talk about these attachments. So it's this one. Now this is Joe McNally. That's who I was trying to think of. So this will hold 3 flashes. All right, so let me just see if I can focus on it. It doesn't do it if it thinks my face is there. There we go. So you can see on this that you put one up the top, one here. Now this just has your normal flash hot shoe. You can put an umbrella through here if you want to. And then the flashes obviously just screw in up the top up there, and then you just tighten that off. So this is another one that I've used as well, and that's quite a good system too, and I like that as well. So I often use this as well with 3 flashes coming through here. If you then want to use an umbrella, you can have the umbrella through there for nice soft light and have 3 flashes, and you get a nice even spread all around. So there's 2 different types of attachments that I use depending on how I feel. Sometimes I'll use this. Sometimes I'll use this setup as well. It just depends really on how I feel. Let me just put those down. So that's a Joe McNally one anyway, if anyone's interested in that little system. But that's how you could say use even these ones that we were talking about, the Godox, the V1. You could use the same system like that with that Joe McNally one and put 3 on there and you'd overpower the sun. And probably you get 3 or 4 of them with the price you pay for the Profoto A1. Let me just come back to questions. So I hope that was interesting to people there. Another thing to hide from Kerry. I love it. I've got something to hide from Kerry. You're going to look. I'm just going to show you this because I'm going to talk about it a bit later. Because I've got a month before she sees the visa bill. Shh. I just bought this. So it's the Atmos Ninja V. I know Photomiak has one, and I spoke to him about it just the other day. I've got a 7-inch version of this because 7 inches is a good size. Whenever I say that, I'm going to laugh. This is 5 inches, which is obviously adequate. But I think I'll sell my 7-inch one. But I bought this the other day, and I did buy the proper caddy for it because I didn't want the caddy to stick out on the side. But I'll talk a little bit about this later. But remember, what stays in the Sony News and Rumours chat happens in the Sony News and Rumours chat stays in the Sony Rumours News chat. I love it. All right, let's keep going. Where were we? They can articulate the dove key, but not the viewfinder screen. Part-time photographer said, I've been using the round head from AD200 pretty much exclusively now. Yeah, but I suppose that doesn't actually change the head itself. That's why these flashes, I believe, are better, because the mount against the light is round. You're only putting an adapter on it, aren't you, with the AD200, I think. I'm not sure that will still be as soft as having an initial round head that's designed round. Gerald says the modelling lights are at the bottom of the round head. The light below is a focus. Oh, okay, so they do have a modelling light in there. Well, that's great, Gerald. So it even has that. Dave says the Godox V1.62 Sony flash, I got recycles in 2 seconds at full power. This one is 1.5. Yep, it's pretty quick. Part-time says, I wonder if the round head speed light is lighter than the transmitter plus extension head. Yeah, I'm not sure. All the companies are owned by the same people. You never know, they may be. Dave says, I own the V860 flashes. I've just bought another Tuesday, and it came in today. I also own two AD200s and one AD600. That's a great setup, because you've got the two smaller flashes, the AD200s if you want them, and then you've got one big one which can overpower the sun. Sometimes, like an ultimate setup, if you were going Godox as well, maybe one AD200, one AD400, and then one AD600, and then you're covered for everything, including now these new flashes as well. Like they're certainly getting a good range as well. G'day, Angel. Good to see you here. Dave says, I wonder if Gary Fong will make an attachment for this. I love Gary Fong Light Spear. I don't shoot any camera without it, camera flash without it. Dino says, does overexposing with artificial light have a detrimental effect on highlights, as does with bright sun, or should you always err on the more light side of things in lower light? Always, it doesn't matter how I expose, Dino, I always expose for the highlights, always. That's the thing for me. You can always pull back the shadow with dynamic range, but you can never get the highlights back. So I'm always willing to sacrifice a little bit of shadows, but I will never sacrifice the highlights. I've found you can tend to go about 1 over with the Sonys, even 1.5 stops, and you can pull that back. But I always have that thought in my mind of I never want to overexpose highlights. It doesn't matter whether you're using continuous, daylight, or flash photography. It's always a highlight that I'm aiming to protect. Richard said, Profoto says they're releasing the A1 for Sony in the first half of 2019. Yeah, well, they said that last year, Richard. I was told Q1 in 2018, and it still hasn't happened. Don't know what's happened. Langston says, I think you might find this a great alternative. 42 Pro says, I would assume they are compatible with the current transmitters. I'd say yes. Yeah, they all work the same way. They'd have to be consistent in that way. Anthony says, what's the best way to get camera work for first goers? I'm just doing photography as a hobby at the moment and want to advance in my career, maybe doing local shoots. Is it best to do free at first? Well, you have to start somewhere, and yes, sometimes that may be the case that you have to work for free. The best thing I can say to you is to join some of these groups, and you'll see them on Facebook all the time, where you can do TFP, time for print shoots, and get out there and start posting. You'll find you don't have to tell people you're not working. You could be doing TFP shoots, advertise on Facebook or something like that, saying you're learning. Don't be honest with people, but go online, say that you're just learning and you'd love to work with a model, because a lot of models who are just starting would love to do the same thing. Then start promoting that work on Instagram. That's what you must do, is be constantly posting, because then people will start to get interested in what you produce, and work will eventually come to you. You won't get any work if you haven't got a portfolio or any work out there to show. That's the first thing people will look at. So you need to be shooting. And like I said, you can't start charging someone at first because you've got no work to back that up. Build up your portfolio first. Like I said, work trade for print. Yeah, thank you, Photomeek. It is Scott Robert Lim. So work TFT for a while. Have some friends and ask them if they'd like print photos done, as long as you can post them online for yourself to promote it. Things like that can get you working. Dave said, if Gary Fong makes a light spear for it, I'll definitely buy. Yeah, I've never liked those light spears. I don't use them, but everyone's different. They all like different things. Nikon guy equals Matt Granger. His name is Matt the Rat. Langston says, laugh out loud, that's doing too much for me. A lot of flashes to manage. Dave said, is the Sony flasher used lithium? No, it's just batteries. They're just your 4 batteries going. Now, I like that sometimes because I've got a million of them. I use Anyloop batteries, and I find that they last a long time. The Anyloop Pro batteries, which are the black ones, last an awful long time. So that's what I'm using. I mean, the disadvantage is that with those type of batteries, it can overheat. I've never had this overheat. There was a firmware upgrade that was done to these, and I checked when I bought this and it had the latest firmware, so it doesn't overheat, because the early ones apparently did. But if you're using lithium-ion batteries, obviously there's less chance it will overheat, and it resyncs faster. So you can keep shooting quicker than what you can with batteries. You can buy battery packs if you want to go that way. I think if I bought a new flash, though, I probably would want the lithium-ion batteries and, have a couple of those. Just so it would resync faster. Dino says, do you run a separate credit card for your backup equipment? No, I use, well, it is a business card, so I've got a month before she finds out. You're the first person to say 5 inches is adequate. I knew someone was going to pick up on that. But, Dave, it's how you use the 5 inches. It's not, how long the 7 inches is. We better move on. Photomix says, love that thing, although still figuring it out. Michael Mishra said, you are pushing it, David. I know, Michael. Oh, she is going to lock you up out of the house. I'm still coming up with my, I'm still going to come up with my disguise in case if I go and get the 135. Boy, am I going to be in trouble if I get that. Comment said, which wireless flash controller do you use? I use the Fuji ones, so I'm using everything. Do you want me to get them? I'll show you. Hang on, stay there. Now I've got two transmitters. So this is the newer one. I've got to hold my face again. This is the newer one that came out. Oh yeah, there we go. And this one here is the older one. So I've just got this as a backup. So I always carry the 2 of these just in case if one fails. And then for my transmitter, I'm using these. So I'm using, I should turn face detect off. So that's what I'm using as the transmitter. I mean, they're all really good. I mean, I've never had a problem with these though. They're fantastic. I really like them. The Photic stuff has never let me down. So I've always stuck with them and I've never needed to replace them. Obviously, if I go Godox, I'll buy a Godox transmitter and stuff like that and receiver, so it'll be different. But for the Sony stuff, that's worked fantastic. Where were we? Conrad said, and Tim said, looking at the video on the Godox V1, it looks like the bulb head can twist and fold, essentially doing the same thing the Sony if you go with vertical. Interesting. Yeah, because the Profoto one does a similar thing, and it was really interesting because what the Profoto one does, if you had that, the whole head's sort of twisted to where you want it to go, and it's a really weird design, but perhaps the Godox one is doing a similar thing, and that's how that works. So yeah, it may work similar to what this is doing. I'm surprised Godox have never copied that, seeing that they've copied the Profoto one. I wonder why they never copied that, because it is such a good system the way the Sony one works. My twin Godox have been fine. Nothing wrong with the twin Godoxes, that's for sure. Gerald says, I have one V350 two V860s and two AD400 Pros and two AD600 Pros. That's a great setup, Gerald. Wondering if those new ones are more powerful than the V860s. They're probably about the same, I would think. Michael said, played with the 135 today, David. Sony is taking all of my money. Don't tell me that, Michael. Is it that good? This is what worries me. I know I'm going to get a call from the shop, I know it, and I'm going to go in and I won't be able to help myself. I may to pop online and do some therapy before. If I get the call, I might have to pop online. Gerald's talking to someone. Jim said, greetings, mate. Where was that one? Where were we? I hate it when it does that. Where were we? Oh. Sorry, guys. It sometimes scrolls right to the bottom. There we are. Jim said greetings. Yep. Photomix says, how did you get hold of the 135? Yeah, let us know what you thought about it. Man, my first wedding was free, and when I think back, it should have been. I love it. Michael said, my Sony reps were close friends. That's fantastic. You're so lucky. Can you send one over here, Michael? Delta Dave said, it's not the size of the pen, but how you sign your name. Exactly, Delta Dave. Exactly. Kerry's very happy. I'm so lucky that she doesn't watch this. Oh, boy. Anthony says, thank you for your advice, David. I've put photos on my Instagram. I'm using manual focus, mostly due to it being sharper. Langston says, I'm not one of the so cool kids. Oh, I don't know what that means and what you're talking about there. If you have free time, David, can you give me some feedback on my channel? Let me know. It's hard, Anthony, to get time to do that sort of stuff. You're better off to join the Facebook group because that's what it's there for. Langston says, Sony has more angry lawyers than Profoto is. That's why. Hope the sofa behind you is comfortable. I love it. Oh, that's so funny. All right, let's go next story. Oh, boy, you guys are going to get me in so much trouble, honestly. All right, this was interesting because we keep hearing from the Nikon fanboys, Photomiac, about Sony, that the new mount was Sony's going to hold Sony back. Well, it looks like it's completely not true, because they're saying here that Sony believe that they can take 0.63 lenses. So this is really interesting. Now, whether they're going to do that or not, I mean, it'd be ridiculous, but they're saying that they can take it. Now, there is some people talking about that, yes, but it may not be sharp in the edges and things like that. But I don't really think that's true. I think anything that you can deal with for wide-angle lenses, I bet you if Sony do a 0.95 lens, it'll be sharp from edge to edge. And I don't think the mount is an issue at all, particularly if they're saying that they can make 0.63 lenses. Not that, like I said, you'd probably ever need a lens like that, but there's a whole document here that's talking about the myth that's saying the mount wasn't any good. Now, I'm not going to read all this because it would bore you to death, but I'll stick the link down below so that you can have a read of it. There's all this interesting discussion about it. Like I said, if you scroll through, you can have a look at it and see. But I don't think there's any problem with the Sony mount at all, and it's certainly something that I'm not worried about. I know it was the immediate thing that Canon shooters and everyone else started to bag Sony when they brought these new mounts out, saying that, you know, it's going to leave Sony floundering and all things like that, but it looks like it's definitely not going to. I mean, what more do you need than what they're saying they can do a 0.63 mount? So I think it doesn't matter for anything anyway. But I do think that Sony is probably going to produce a fast lens sooner than later, just to prove that they can do it. Whether that's an f1 lens or a 0.95 lens or an f1.2 lens, I don't know. But I do think that they probably will produce one just to show that they can do it. just like the Nikon has with their 0.95 lens. It probably will be manual focus because you're not going to be able to get that focus working so much on such a big lens. Like it'd be a massive amount to move that type of lens around. You know, if you had, say, an 85 1.4 or a 1.2 or a 1.0 or 0.95 lens, it's going to be a lot of glass that's being moved around in those lenses. So it probably more than likely is going to be a manual focusing lens like the Nikon one is. And all of them so far have been manual focusing lens. So it's going to be interesting. But I do think Sony probably will do one. But that was a really interesting article because now if anyone says, oh, the Sony mount's crap, you know, it can't do whatever, you can say, look, that myth has already been disapproved. It's already saying that they can do a 0.63 lens on that mount, and you're not going to need anything brighter than that. That's for sure. I won't open up the chat yet because we'll keep going a bit. Because how long have we been on? An hour and 9 minutes, and I've only gone through a few stories. So that's that story, which is interesting. Now, SmallRig, I wanted to talk about this because SmallRig have announced a couple of things that I've pre-ordered. This one is really interesting because this mount looks fantastic if you're dealing with the a6400 to put the mount just with your microphone off to the left, to the right-hand side there of the camera. I think it just fits in, obviously, into your hot shoe mount, and I think there's a screw or something on this side somehow that connects into the body. But what a great idea. It's still under pre-order. I have asked SmallRig if they could send me one that I can have a look at. Hopefully they can send me one and I can review it for you guys. But I'll buy one anyway if that doesn't happen. But it looks like it's a great system. And that's something that's come out if you just want to travel very, very light. And it does look like it's a really good system to do with just putting your microphone off on that side. And then you can obviously put your screen up. Because the issue is that... with this, the issue is that you can't put that up and then stick a microphone on at the moment because it blocks it. But this is going to put it over that side, so it will go over this side. By the way, why I'm showing this, this little legs that I bought for my RX100 works fantastic with this as well. And it's fantastic. Like, when you connect it, you can start the recording. You can also take photos and everything, and it's got a great little grip that you can use to hold the camera if you're doing vlogging. And then you've got the legs that work with it that will hold it up. And I never thought about it, but then I thought, look, I'm going to try it with it, and it works beautifully. I just thought I'd mention that. Fantastic little thing. But yeah, that is such a good thing from SmallRig. I mean, they really do make amazingly cheap things. If you buy it now, you can get it for a $19.37 or $39. You save $8.37 than if you wait for it to be in the full pricing once the pre-order's been shipped out. So that's one thing that I'll get. I have ordered that, so but I've got to wait until it comes. The other thing that looks really good as well is this. Now, I've purchased this and I'm waiting for it to be delivered. In fact, it may be coming today. I'm not sure. So this is a new cage that's been announced. It was only $46.04. Now, buy this if you want to get one and you've got an a6400 or even thinking about getting one. It might be good to buy it before it goes up because you save $36.27 by buying it now because it's going to go up to $82 once the pre-order thing has been done. Mine's shipped, so I know it's on its way. Like I said, it may be coming out today, but... fantastic. And I had one for the a6300, which was quite good, but this one has been tailored a little bit better to fit around the body. If you look, it's got a nice grip on the other side. I think it shows it here, actually. You can see there that, it's nice and smooth in the fitting of the actual camera, sitting up enough so you can still use your flash mount there. And then obviously you can buy a hot shoe adapter. I've bought something which I'll show you in a minute that is an extension to this. I didn't know that SmallRig were doing that other one. But SmallRig have also bought out this little attachment that you can put in, and I'll show you how it fits in. because I think it showed it in one of these. Yeah, there. You can see there what it does. It connects to that side of it, and then your microphone adapter will sit out a little bit further away. So it's even a little bit better if you're dealing with a vlogging type scenario. SmallRig are fantastic. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by them at all. I've paid for everything that have been sent to me. But I am really looking forward to getting this little cage, and then, I can stick the monitor on and the microphone and do things like that and still use the articulating screen. So that's SmallRig. And like I said, this one here I've pre-ordered. That's not being delivered until April sometime though. Next story before we open up to chat, there's a couple of last things. I just wanted to show this quickly. Just the size difference of the a6400. It's interesting if you look at it compared to its direct competitor, which is the X-T30. And on this side here is the Canon EOS R, just to show you the difference in size. At least the a6400 has a reasonable grip. The X-T30 has hardly any grip at all. So I'm not sure how comfortable that will be to hold. It's probably going to be like the RX100. I just wanted to show you that. And the last story before we open it up to Q&A is SmallHD have released. I've got the Focus, the 5-inch one. We're talking about 5 inches again. I've got the 5-inch one, but they have announced the 7-inch version of this. It's basically the same, except I think it was, is it OLED? It doesn't say. Not sure. But it's just a larger version of the other one. Very, very light, except you can put 2 hot swappable batteries now on the back of this. But it's $6.99, and I'm not sure that I would pay that much just for a monitor without the recording. Like I said, I'd probably buy the Ninja V over this, and that's why I sort of showed this, because I've just bought that. And yeah, I got this the other day with the Atmos little hard disk on it, which is beautiful. And I'm going to see how this works in the coming days. So I've just got that. I'll probably sell the 7-inch version that I've got. So that's it, guys, with all of that stuff. So let's go on to Q&A. Let me open this up. Let me scroll back here. Let me just have a quick drink of this thing. And let me clear that. And let's come down to where we were before. Jim said, put a new shirt on. Susie, I shoot raw, Fuji RAW, and prefer larger pens. Oh, Jim, honestly. Jim said, thumbs up. Yeah, really appreciate it, guys, if I could get a thumbs up. It really helps me. Michael said 0.63, nothing would be in focus. Exactly, it wouldn't be. I suppose if you're standing far enough back and you're shooting at night, it'd be interesting. I did like using the 0.95 lens that I had, the Voigtlander, because I could shoot with the GH5 at night. And as long as you were far enough away, everything's in focus anyway. So it does enable more light to come in. And that could be great for things like if you're at a reception and you were a long way back, and it was very, very dark, having fast glass can be a real advantage. Casper said, just bought the legendary 135 Carl Zeiss 1.8 A mount. Yeah, I saw that, Casper. Are you enjoying that lens? Photomic says, it's not. I'm interested in that Nikon 50 1.2 coming next year. That'll be a great lens, Photomic. It's not. It's like the most useless engineering exercise. You're talking about opening up the f-stop that far. What's the point of a wide f-stop? More light. Basically, that's it. Photomic says, Sony has all the lenses you need. Anything else under 200mm is just for extra options. You're exactly right now. We really don't need other lenses now than what we've got. The missing things, we do. We could have a wide angle lens native from Sony, like a 12mm. That's one thing that is missing from that side of the thing. And we're also missing the longer sports lenses or wildlife lenses like the 500mm type lenses. But they'll come. It's only a matter of time. Mavfan said, a couple of months ago, Profoto said the A1 for Sony will be out the first half of the year. Like I said, I've heard that before and it's never happened. Michael said, G-Master, nice. And yeah, it's a good lens to get right now at a great price. Are you talking about the one that Casper got? Yeah, it is a nice lens. Oops. Where were we? Michael said, Photomic, do you manual focus at all or not really? I used to manual focus all the time, and now the Sony cameras are that good that I very rarely use manual focusing anymore. Particularly the A7 III that I've got in the A9 is nuts. I mean, once we get that firmware, which hopefully is coming out this month, soon, it's going to be out of this world, and nothing will touch the A9 once that comes out. I'd say at the moment the A9 and the D5 is probably fairly similar in performance if you're talking about it, but I do believe once the A9 firmware update comes out, the A9 will be the best focusing camera in the world. Nothing will touch it. And I do firmly believe that from what I've seen, particularly after I've used the a6400. That's a big step up in focusing, and the A9 is going to be a generational leap above that, so nothing will touch that, that's for sure. Michael said, Philip Bloom has a video about the SmallHD 7-inch. Yeah, I think I watched that actually. It looks pretty good, but like I said, I think I would probably prefer to get the SmallHD. The Ninja, because you get a recorder inside it for that price, unless you need the 7 inches. Jim said, since Fuji fanboys are angry, they will grip that XT with anger, so the flat grip is a non-issue. A9 update, we're still waiting, Altric. They did say March, so it could be any time this month. You can't be angry at Sony. They said March. It may come at the end of March. We want it right. So obviously if it's not out, they're still working on it. And we want it to be perfect when it's released. So just be patient. It will come. What do you think of the Tamron 17-28? I think it's going to be a fantastic lens, but like I said, I haven't used it yet. Tamron Australia are meant to be going to send me one that I can test, but I don't know when that will be, so hopefully soon. But they've said the lens isn't going to be released until mid-year, so it may be a little bit before I get one yet. Dino said, if you tell her you're upgrading to a 7-inch screen, I'm sure that she will approve of it, David. Photomic said, have you been paying attention to the Canon Northrop and Afghan girl? Well, I didn't watch it. Oh no, I did watch a little bit of it, Photomic, but I don't know about the point of that video, really, honestly, and hasn't he taken it off? So it's gone off. So there's obviously legal action that's happening about that video. I don't know, I just don't really understand why you would bring that up, really. But what do you guys think about that? I'd like to know. Eugene said, why didn't you go for the Atmos Shinobi, or do you like the external recording option? Yes, I do. Look, the thing is, when I was thinking about that, I mean, I've been using the 7-inch one for a while, but it's too big to sit on top of the camera. That's one issue with it. And I spoke to Photomic about it the other day, and he said, yeah, maybe just for the size alone, it's probably worth getting that 5-inch one. So I thought about that, but I do use a recording option sometime, particularly for you guys when I record the menus and stuff like that. But there's also another motive that I'm thinking about with it, that if Sony bring out an A7000, or if they bring out an A7S III, you can bet probably a lot of those features are going to have to use a recorder to get the most out of it. I don't think they're going to do it all internal. It will often upload to get it out of the camera due to the fact that you get overheating issues and all other things if it's done internal. And it takes the processing chore out of it. So I probably would still use the recorder for some high-end work going external to it. And, you know, like Photomic's got that with his Nikon Z6. Because for all of the real advanced features, to get the high bit depths and everything else, and the, you know, the RAW and all that sort of stuff, you have to go out to an external recorder, and the Ninja gives you that. So I'm sort of thinking future-proofing what I can do, and that's one reason why I thought that I'd get this now, is that if Sony bring out an A7000, you can bet that to get the best features, like when they had the A7S, you had to go out to an external recorder to get the 4K. I think you'll find a similar thing will probably happen with an A7000 or an A7S3. That to get the ultimate video, you'll have to go to an external. So that's the reason why I wanted to buy one with an external recorder. The other thing is too, you get the 500 gigabytes on there. It's a nice screen that you can look at as well. And I do like using them, so I'll just see how it goes. But that's the main reason why I didn't buy that other Atmos one. Gerald says, please put out an immediate alert. I will do the same. Whoever gets the link for the new A9 firmware first for you, Altric, will give you a big cheers. I know. I think it's people will find out pretty quick. I think. I think Photomiyuk took his 7-inch for his Las Vegas shoot. So, Photomiyuk, did you want the 7-inch for your Las Vegas shoot, or would you prefer the 5-inch? You guys are going to get me demonetized. Said 16 to 35, 2.8 or f4. If you can afford the 2.8, I would get the 2.8. But I've got the f4 version and I love it. But having said that, I probably will sell that and get the 17 to 28. Boston said, just bought a second-hand A9 with 3,000 clicks for $2,000. That's fantastic. Photomix says, Lyle Martinez, but did you hit the thumbs up? Michael said, David and the A9 will rule the world. Oh no, I can't wait for that update. I really can't. Dwayne said, has anyone had trouble with the 85 GM in low light? I noticed mine hunts. Yes, but that's a known problem, Dwayne. It will. And if you watch Manny Ortis' video when he reviewed the 135, he showed how much better the 135 worked better than the 85. It's a known thing with the 85 that it's not good in low light, it's slow. And it's nothing you can do about it. I think it's probably that amount of glass that's being moved. Obviously, the motors have been updated in the 85, and it is only a 1.8, not a 1.4. But they've definitely improved the low light focus with the 135. So, yeah, it's just something that is an issue with the GM version. Casper said A9 will be king. Yes, it certainly will be. Madfan said no legal action with the Northrop issue. They reached out to McCurry before they posted it and got no response. Interesting. I heard there was some legal action. I think it might have been Ken, the angry person, said that. Madfan said team said that they didn't get an email. The Northrops are allowing McCurry's team time to respond and will post an updated video. Photomix says, my guess is that it was slow news week and Tony needed to drum up some content for views. Problem is this time his clickbaity fake news ways caught up to him. Yeah, it's very, very silly doing that, I think. You could be in big trouble doing that sort of stuff, and once it's posted, it's too late. Madfan said, truth isn't as good as YouTube rumour mongering. Sony Pony, where there were rumours last year about Tamron's tele lenses. Is there any updates to the 70 to 200? No, but I can almost guarantee that it will happen. Tamron have announced now, obviously, that 17 to 28. The next one probably will be the 70 to 200, but it may not be until late this year or early next year. We just have to wait and see, but it'll come. They're definitely going to do it because they're selling them like crazy. Photomix says, but even his ISO is fake news as well. Jim said, David blushes every time 5.7 is mentioned. Gerald said, any word on Tamron 70 to 200 for Sony? No, there's no word yet. But my prediction is that obviously the Tamron 28 to 75 that I'm using now came out around May, or I can't remember, sometime like that. This next one's coming out a similar time, so I think it'll be late this year or early next year, Gerald, now I think. Photomix says, I can make it work with any size, to be honest. That's what I said. It doesn't matter about the size, does it? It's how you use it, Photomix, exactly. James said, your purchase of the a6400 was a good plan. the A9 upgraded, you'll be able to give us an honest review. Yeah, I can't wait for that, actually. I'm dying for that. Gerald said, just shot today a conference in low light with the 85 1.4 and no hunting problems at all using IAF. Yeah, it's a definite problem though, Gerald. Have a look at, like I said, that video that Manny Ordis put up. And when I tested it, I had the same problem with low light. It has to be reasonably fairly low though. That was using the A9. Yeah, but the A9's a different beast too. Jim said, what body is your G... Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it. So is there any last questions, guys, before we finish for the day? Don't forget I posted the show that I did with Aaron the other day. So I reposted that yesterday, I think it was. So please go back and have a look at that. That's an interesting show with Aaron and myself talking about a whole stack of different topics. So please support us with that show. There's nothing quite like that out there. So we hope that really takes off, and I'm sure it will over time. Let's just see what MJ says. It's not the size of the wand, it's the magic in it. I so hope Kerry doesn't watch this show. Oh, Photomeek, the only people I trust for Sony news and reviews are Sony's users like David, Jason Vong, that one camera guy, Manny Otis, and myself, of course. Exactly, Photomeek, and I totally agree with that. I really do. Please, if you can, go join our Facebook group. It's up to 4,000 users now, and I'm wrapped. I'm just going to stick the name in here. So it's photography, videography school. So I've just showed that there. Please join us on Facebook. It's a fantastic site that we've set up for people like you guys, and it's an extension of mine and Aaron's and Gerald's and everyone else's work, and it's gone crazy now. Like I said, we've just hit 4,000 subscribers, so we're wrapped about that. If you haven't subscribed, obviously, to the channel, please do that. And obviously give me a thumbs up, because like I said, I'm not sponsored by anyone like Photomeek isn't. And we really do appreciate the support that we get out there. Any questions from today's show, please leave those down below. I do try and answer, or I definitely read every single question that goes up. So that's one thing that's really important to me as well. And stay tuned, obviously, for some other videos that are coming out. That's about all for now, guys. So I'll see you all in the next video. So stay tuned. I may even try and broadcast live from the model shoot that I'm doing at the beach on Sunday. Dino, the schedule for videos is, well, the schedule ones are Tuesday we do one in the US at... well, it's 12 p.m. my time, so it's about a similar time to today. That's every Tuesday. I think it comes on a similar time like we are today. Friday's one, or the Thursday one we're doing now, the Sony Alpha Rumors one, is always on at this time unless I'm out shooting or doing a wedding or something like that. So the times on these are always the same. The show that I'm doing with Aaron is all at the same time as well. If you watch that show, the schedule's on it anyway, and that comes on at the same time. 1 week on my channel, 1 week on Aaron's channel as well. But I'm sharing it on both channels at the moment to get it moving a little bit. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for this little review that I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm going to be reviewing this in the coming days. What is it? There we go. Soonwell. This looks like a really amazing product. Like I said, I'll be reviewing this, and it's actually a foldable light, so you can move it and manipulate it into any shape that you actually want. And it's color controllable as well. So I'm really excited about looking at that as well and doing that review for you. I'll obviously review the SmallRig stuff when it comes out as well. And like I said, that may come today. So I'm just waiting on that to come through as well. Like I said, I'll try and do one from the beach on Sunday. Show you what I'm doing with some of the girls and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. Kiara will be there. Really looking forward to that. That's it, guys. So I'll see you all in the next video. Catch you.